Hello everybody, I hope you're all well. When I was scrolling on Twitter the other day, this tweet from @RheaFinn really caught my eye. It was in response to a New York Times article. Foundation is dead, gone are the days of full coverage foundation that conceals all of skin's flaws. A new era is ushering a wave of self-acceptance. @RheaFinn tweets, it's not a new era of self-acceptance. It's what I said last year about how beauty shifted to being about the semblance of biological advantage rather than skill. We see this in transition through the shift towards skincare, surgery/injectables, lash extensions. And in the New York Times article, Kristen Bateman argues that foundation is officially out of style and we as a collective are going to start embracing our natural skin, flaws and all, and uses examples such as Euphoria makeup artist Donny Davy not using foundation on any of the cast, and also a multitude of different brands such as Jones Road, Rhode Skin, Chanel releasing their own versions of skin tints. And Kirsten spoke to multiple different people for this article. Colleen Gwen Armstrong says, after becoming so used to wearing masks for 2 years, it became almost impossible to wear foundation and not feel extremely uncomfortable. Bobby Brown, the Bobby Brown, says, I realized I actually liked the way I looked better without a foundation. I started reinventing how I actually saw myself and how I felt. At the same time, things were changing in the beauty industry. It was a more relaxed look. Girls were wearing messy buns to parties. Oh my gosh, that reminds me of when Shiv Roy wore a messy bun to her brother's wedding. Never forget. And Kirsten does acknowledge the shift from makeup to skincare. And a lot of these skin tints act as like skincare products in one, often containing ingredients like hyaluronic acid, niacinamide, SPF, vitamin C, all that good stuff. You can tell I have no idea what I'm talking about. I don't know anything about skincare. Sorry. And this article really stresses that the foundation-free movement is about acceptance and inclusivity. Tanya Trevette, who Kirsten also spoke to for this article, says that she stopped wearing foundation because she wanted to be a good example for her 3 teenage daughters. And Euphoria makeup artist Donny Davy says, I think it's really important to reflect on why there is a tendency to give ourselves this filtered look in portion to gout out social media. It doesn't do great things for our self-esteem and body image. And I'm sorry, but unless you're a newborn, you have texture. Now, don't get me wrong, I thought that this article was really positive, and I feel like the Grinch, you know what I mean? I feel like a commentary YouTuber Grinch ready to rain on everyone's parade. I actually found it to be quite an enjoyable read, and I have noticed a shift in beauty trends, especially with the 2016 really intense full glam to now this shift to the clean girl aesthetic. But unfortunately, I don't think these shifting trends represent a change in like acceptance, that all of a sudden we are embracing all of our skin's flaws, but rather I think we are praising biological advantage. And even more so, beauty is becoming a wealth and a status symbol, and there are just more and more financial barriers to get over if you want to be beautiful. And this is exactly what I want to discuss today. Things like the clean girl aesthetic, rather than getting people to embrace their natural skin, I would say it's more pushing people to invest in more expensive beauty regimes like skincare, filler, Botox, even plastic surgery. And honestly, it's creating an entirely new financial barrier to beauty standards. It's quite funny actually, because when I think about like dystopian rich people beauty standards, I immediately think of the Hunger Games, right? And how everyone in the capital is wearing the most garish, outlandish things because they want to prove that they are worth a lot of money and that they're extremely wealthy and that they can afford to wear these extremely ridiculous things, have ridiculous hair, wear ridiculous makeup. But it's almost the opposite in real life. Now it's like you want to pay a lot of money to look like you haven't paid a lot of money. Does that make sense? It reminds me a lot of the meme that went around like 5 or 6 years ago that was, you're not ugly, you're just poor. So not only am I going to discuss skincare, 2016 full glam makeup, plastic surgery, but even though this feels really new, Beauty being a status and a wealth symbol is absolutely nothing new at all. Beauty standards have always been dictated by and actively mimic class dynamics. As you guys can probably tell, this video idea started out with me just seeing a tweet a few weeks ago, and as you can see has spiraled into this really, really big idea which branches off into so many different directions. And honestly, the question that I get most is how I make my video essays, how I get started, what does my creative process look like? And recently I've started using Millernote to organize all of my creative and work projects, where I can collect articles, notes, images, tasks, documents, all in one place. And even though I am a full-time professional YouTuber, I'm an absolute tech grandma, let's not get it twisted. And Millernote is honestly so easy to use. First of all, there's hundreds of different templates to choose from based on what your creative project is. Anything from if you make films, if you do podcasting, if you create art, if you write. And with Millernote's web clipper, which is easily my favorite tool on Millernote, you can really easily display articles, YouTube links, and pictures to your Millernote boards. I always start out every single video idea ever since I started making video essays with doing a big brainstorm. And let me actually get my notebook and show you guys what my brainstorm originally looked like for this video. So this is what my original brainstorm looked like.
Oh my God.
As you can see, it's very unorganized and cluttered, and it literally is just like brain dump. And the brainstorming that I did on Millernote, I'll put on screen now. As you can tell, the world of difference. And honestly, having the beginning of the creative process be much less messy and more organized and a lot more visual as well. You can tell I've displayed the articles and the pictures. It honestly makes the world of difference to my creative process and makes everything so much more smooth and easy. It just makes such a big difference, everything being organized from the conception of the idea. And when you're ready to share your work, whether it's with colleagues, with clients, with fellow students, you can invite them to your Millernote board to gather important feedback and collaborate with them in real time. And the best news is Millernote is available for free with no time limit. So make sure you sign up using my link in the description to start your next creative project. And honestly, let me know how you guys get on with the comments, because Millernote has been an absolute game changer when it comes to making my videos. Thank you again, Millernote, for sponsoring. In we go. One thing about me, I love reminiscing about 2016 full glam makeup. Like, this was my lived experience. This was my teenhood. Because what a time. It was all very full glam. You honestly had to have a lot of skill to pull off and even create this type of makeup look. It was all very full coverage, very full glam, glitter, shimmers, contour, highlight, overlining the lips, matte lipstick, no gloss, no blusher. That was a very weird thing about that time. No blusher, no lip gloss. But one thing I will say, maybe I'm a hater, but this makeup, as someone who wore it as well, only really looked good on camera under a very harsh ring light. One thing which I'm not sure how many YouTubers talk about it, but lighting really washes out your makeup. So the really heavy highlighter, the really overlined lips, the really bold brows carried out really well on camera because there was a massive ring light washing it out behind. In real life, heavy highlighter looks goofy. I learned the hard way. And honestly, the difference between 2016 and 2020 makeup is like night and day. One thing I will say is I definitely think the pandemic had some impact on beauty trends. I think people being forced to stay at home, people got a lot more used to what their faces looked like without makeup on, and a lot of people actually began to prefer the way that they looked without makeup versus the full glam look. So more people were looking for makeup looks to enhance their features rather than completely cover them up. And another thing, maybe this is just me, but I think people got a hell of a lot lazier. I hated doing my full glam makeup towards the end. Like last year, the year before, I used to get into a bad mood when I used to have to do my makeup because I just saw it as a really long-winded chore that I didn't even like the look of when I'd finished it. So this sort of stripped back makeup look is really ideal for people like me who hated doing full glam makeup. But also I think it would be naive of me to blame this shift in beauty trends on the pandemic and not the fact that people are preferring to praise biological advantage over skill, and that beauty standards have become a lot more elitist because really only the richest of the rich can afford a really elaborate skincare routine, afford to go to a dermatologist, afford Botox, filler, plastic surgery. But I also think acting like now is the only time that beauty standards have been rooted in elitism and classism would be really naive of me. Beauty standards have always been for the elites and the elites only. Back in the Renaissance period, the beauty standard used to be to have really pale and plump skin because it showed that you weren't working outside, unlike people who were tanned and had maybe a little bit of sun damage or sunspots. The beauty standard has completely switched. Now the beauty standard is to be nice and tanned because it shows that you are well traveled and that you have the disposable income to go on a lot of holidays. But so many beauty standards of today are rooted in classism, the biggest one being teeth. Having straight, clean, and white teeth is a signifier of your class. I'm not sure how it is in other countries. I'm just going to speak for the UK and the UK only. But over here in the UK, a majority of working class people, and honestly a lot of middle class people, can't afford to go to the dentist. Over here in the UK, you can see the dentist through the NHS, but dentists only take a very limited portion of NHS patients. So a lot of dentists do not take any patients on the NHS anymore. I haven't been able to find a dentist in London that takes patients on the NHS, and I have not been to the dentist since I was 16. And not only that, but also when it comes to braces, your teeth have to be bad enough to qualify for free braces. And my teeth weren't considered bad enough, so I have really crooked bottom teeth, and I don't get that many comments about it anymore because I angle my camera in a certain way where you can't see my teeth anymore, but I used to get so many comments about my teeth. And also being thin, being muscular, being toned is absolutely a signifier of your class. It signifies that not only do you have the money, but also the time to go to the gym, maybe have a personal trainer, maybe have a meal plan, maybe meal prep, cook with fresh, healthy food. I've mentioned this before in previous videos, but BMI is an absolute bullshit metric. There are plenty of people who have been deemed medically obese but are living completely perfectly healthy lives. But even those who aren't living a healthy lifestyle is much more of a privilege than people take it for. Healthier foods are more expensive. Cooking and meal prepping is time consuming. Some people live in food deserts. Some people have trauma. Some people have binge eating disorders due to trauma in their lives, which unfortunately they are struggling to get over because they can't afford to go to therapy, which is another financial barrier. And just to relate it back to the 2016 makeup trends, even though we look back and we say that the beauty standards were rooted in skill, I do think that there were some elements of elitism within this makeup look and this beauty standard. It took a lot of money and time to learn how to do your makeup to this standard. And in my opinion, as soon as it started becoming more achievable between sort of 2018 to 2019, when more affordable makeup brands like Morphe, e.l.f., NYX, YouTube makeup tutorials became a lot more widespread and mainstream and accessible, that's when the beauty standards switched, was when it started becoming accessible to the wider general public. In 2016, being really good at full glam makeup and having this full glam makeup look was a signifier of, I guess, wealth. Not like a ton of wealth, but a little bit of wealth, because if you wanted to shop from like the top makeup brands, MAC, NARS, Urban Decay, you needed money. And then if you wanted to be good at this makeup look, you needed a lot of time to dedicate to perfecting your craft. It's time to talk about skincare, and I'm sure it's absolutely no surprise to anyone that the skincare sector of the beauty industry has seen exponential growth over the past few years. According to Automat, skincare is growing faster than any other part of the beauty industry. Skincare sales grew by 13% in the US. Online retailers' sales grew by 24%, with skincare leading the way, and Net-a-Porter's skincare sales grew 40% year over year. L'Oreal reports that skincare makes up 40% of the beauty market and nearly 60% of worldwide cosmetics market growth. I think that skincare especially has had a boom in the last few years because I think people are more health and wellness conscious than ever. I think consumers are more willing to invest in self-care adjacent products, especially with the pandemic as well. Consumers really do believe in the power of rituals and routines, and also social media, especially skintok for the Gen Z market, but I will circle back to this in just a moment. Not only are consumers more health and wellness conscious than ever before, but they are also more aware of how outside factors can affect your skin. Things like pollution, sun damage, and workplace stress. And something which I actually found quite interesting whilst researching for this video is that consumers who are very health and wellness conscious are more likely to adhere and stick to routines and rituals that work for them, meaning that skincare brands have some of the highest customer retention and loyalty. And that actually makes a lot of sense because when you find a skincare product that really works for you, I've been repurchasing the Simple Hydrating Light Moisturizer since I was 15. And when it comes to social media, skincare brands have a 40% higher Instagram engagement than color cosmetic brands and a 44% increase in follower growth. Online communities such as r/skincare addiction has surpassed over 1 million members. And of course, we cannot talk about the skincare boom of the 2020s without talking about skintok. Skintok is exactly what it sounds like, a hashtag for all skincare related content on TikTok. Anything from skincare routines to product recommendations, ingredient breakdowns, new in skincare videos, trying and testing the latest skincare trends and fads, personal advice on how to solve stubborn skin problems like acne, eczema, skin texture, dark under eyes, and also advice from licensed dermatologists. Although there are a lot of things that we should critique skintok for, which I will get to in a moment, I honestly think that there are a lot of positives to skintok. I think a lot of skincare advertising can not only be really confusing and overwhelming, but a majority of the time I don't even know what I'm buying into. Like, I don't really know what's going on. You never really know whether the skincare product is going to work for you, and you're putting your money in that. Often skincare is really expensive as well, so you're putting a lot of money into it. And I think there's something really comforting about watching a regular person like yourself with similar skin problems to you showing before and after pictures and recommending a skincare product. And also a lot of skintok recommendations are unsponsored because it is regular people just sharing advice and products which work for them. Also, I think there's something really valuable about licensed dermatologists giving free skincare advice on TikTok. Going to a dermatologist is really expensive, and a majority of people probably won't be able to afford to go to a dermatologist in their lifetime. And not only are licensed dermatologists giving skincare advice for free, but they're also actively debunking skintok myths and any ill advice spreading on the platform. Basically, skintok provides a lot of free and personalized advice to an audience who knew very little about skincare before then, and I think that has a lot of value. I think skintok does break down a lot of financial barriers that are inherent to the skincare industry. I also think it gives a voice to groups which are underrepresented in the skincare routine, the skincare industry, like people of color, like people who suffer with polycystic ovaries. But I do think, unfortunately, with the sheer amount of content which is pumped into the skintok hashtag every single day, of course it's going to be prone to problems and issues. It comes as no surprise that misinformation can run rampant on skintok. I especially think on TikTok, people talk with so much authority that maybe I'm exposing myself here, but a lot of the time if someone's talking with authority on TikTok, I will believe what they're saying. And maybe it's my own naivety, but I always do think, why would someone lie? Why would you do that? But I especially think with the introductions of TikTok Shop and Amazon storefronts, I don't necessarily think users are encouraged to lie, but rather I think that users have a little bit more of an initiative to stretch the truth a little bit. And unfortunately, because TikTok is a short form content app, I think that videos can lack a lot of nuance. Anything from people posting a TikTok, some sort of skintok video for the sole purpose of shock factor, the sole purpose of views. Some people can watch that and not realize that it's not meant to be taken seriously. But not only that, if someone is recommending a specific acid to help with skin texture on your skin, and it's a 15-second long TikTok, done, that's it. These TikToks can really lack the nuance of, oh, you shouldn't be using this particular acid if you have sensitive skin. You shouldn't be using this particular acid if you're using other acids on your skin. As you can see, the problems sort of crop up a little bit. And although I think a lot of videos are posted on to skintok with good intentions, I do think that skintok can just lead people to overcomplicate things a little bit, especially when the people you're watching on skintok all seemingly have perfect skin. It sort of pressures you to just try any and every product, which can actually be worse for you in the long term and can actually really make you fuck up your skin. And also, most dermatologists recommend keeping your skincare routine fairly simple. Is it controversial for me to say that I don't see the point in 10-step skincare routines? I just think we need to be careful with putting acid on our skin. And also, again, with the sheer volume of content uploaded onto the skintok hashtag every single day, I think it can lead people to become insecure about skin problems that they didn't know were skin problems. I understand wanting to find a solution to your acne, to your eczema. I have suffered with both in the past, especially eczema. If you've been here for a long time, you know my journey with eczema. I had it on my scalp, I had it all over my face, I had it on my eyelids, arms, legs, I had it everywhere. I couldn't wear makeup on my eyes for, I think it was nearly a year, because I'd wake up every day and my eyes would be swollen shut. It was the pits. But I understand wanting to find a solution to those problems, because not only is it painful, it's an inflammation of your skin, it can lead you to feel so insecure. I actually think the lowest point of my life was when I was suffering really severely with eczema on my eyes, because every single day I would wake up and my eyes would be swollen shut and I'd be crying from the pain, which the tears and the salt in the tears would make the eczema worse. But yeah, I understand that. But when it comes to things like dark under eyes and skin texture and acne scarring and hyperpigmentation, all very normal things to have, when it's constantly being told, oh, this will fix that, you're eventually just going to want to fix it. You're going to want to change it. And I mentioned this in a different video I made about TikTok beauty standards, but it's literally just content that can mine for your insecurities sometimes. Also, I can't help but feel that on skintok and a lot of skintok adjacent content, there's this underlying ageism vibe going on. A lot of people on skintok act like getting a wrinkle is going to be the worst thing that can ever happen to you, especially if you're a woman, because men can have grey hair and wrinkles and they're called DILFs by me. If you don't have a solid skincare routine by the age of 20, you're gonna age like milk. This whole, oh, I'm 32, but I get mistaken for being 22 all the time. Here's my skincare routine. As if being 32 is so old and haggard. You need to put on sunscreen every day, otherwise you're gonna get wrinkles. You need to wear eye cream, otherwise you're gonna get crow's feet. You need to apply your moisturizer upwards other than downwards, otherwise you're gonna drag your skin down and you're gonna look old. I just think that a lot of skintok, not a lot, maybe quite a few skintok users and posters and commenters can act like looking old and having wrinkles is the worst thing you can be. I think I saw a screenshot of a 15-year-old's anti-aging skincare routine on TikTok, and it's actually really sad that as a society, we treat older women so poorly that girls who aren't even women yet are already dreading getting older. Also, I think something that skintok can miss, which I think a lot of sides of the internet can miss, like the fitness side of social media, is that a lot of how your skin looks is down to genetics. The same with a lot of how your body looks is down to genetics, and not the same things are going to work for everyone. It's not one size fits all. But to relate this back to the title of the video, there is this new trend called status skin. And already the red flags, they're going off just by the name status skin. But I did my research. I read about it in Glamour magazine. Let's read an excerpt. But while skinminimalism was about focusing on the condition of our skin, status skin is about flaunting it. And this time round, our skincare is also stepping in as the headliner, with glossy serums replacing or joining coverage like tinted moisturizer for barefaced looking skin that's even more luxe. It's not about hiding imperfections. Blemishes and eye bags are fair game. It's about really deeply conditioning skin, then elevating it with illuminators, glowy coverage, and straight up serums. And again, this is all well and good if this is what status skin was about. Embracing our skin, flaws and all. But it's just not. Because every picture featured in this Glamour magazine article was all of either a model or an Instagram model or a celebrity with clear skin. And this is becoming my favorite thing to say, but not to sound like a bitter commentary YouTuber or anything. But there is something about these beauty trends telling us to embrace our natural selves, flaws and all, whilst shoving a bunch of pictures of models in our face. And the thing is that I am not an insecure person. I think I'm really hot and sexy. Seeing pictures of Instagram models isn't going to send me into the same insecurity spiral that it used to send me in 4 years ago. I've grown, I've evolved, I've changed. But I do think if you're going to write an article about status skin and you put the emphasis on the trend being about embracing your skin, flaws and all, at least make an effort to put at least one picture of someone who isn't a model and doesn't have completely clear skin. It's really interesting, actually. I think we're living in a really interesting time where we're being told to love ourselves no matter what, whilst also being told everything that's wrong with us and that we need to get this treatment to get it fixed. You know, we're being told to love ourselves, but I think a lot of industries are not actually putting in the legwork, especially because I think if they did put in the legwork, then we wouldn't buy as much stuff. It's all about capitalism. Like, we're being told to love ourselves whilst in the same breath being sold a cream to fix our strawberry legs. What the hell are strawberry legs? Or to contour our nose in a specific way to make it smaller. Or being sold an acid to smooth our skin texture. Being told to get fat dissolving injections for our double chin. It's just annoying, and maybe I'm being dramatic, but I would rather literally be told to be unhappy with my appearance rather than be told I should be happy, but then also point out everything that's wrong with it. Do you know what I mean? I just hate this whole being preached to love myself whilst being sold products that I need to buy to fix everything that's wrong with me. There is a great article on Refinery 29 about the problem with status skin, but just to read an excerpt, aesthetician and skincare expert Alicia Larty seconds this and puts forward a rather eye-opening analogy. We should not be attaching status symbols to our skin because that would be similar to attaching status to your kidney, she says. We can't really control the condition of our skin completely. Even as a beauty editor, this is something I know all too well. I'm lucky to have access to countless skincare products and fancy devices with some of London's most revered beauty experts on speed dial. Despite being diligent with my skincare routine, I struggle to keep my hormonal breakouts under control, which leads to scarring and uneven skin texture. As a result, I use makeup to feel confident, rather than going barefaced. Put simply, many aesthetic skincare trends taking social media by storm are unrealistic, especially those perpetuating beauty ideals that make people feel inadequate. Status skin doesn't come cheap either. Investing in your beauty routine requires money, and with costs rising left, right, and centre, skincare trends that call for a certain level of consistency are unreachable for a lot of people. There's a reason why Hailey Bieber is the poster girl for both the glazed donut skin and the status skin movements. It's all about disposable income. And that's what this video is all about, because we aren't embracing natural beauty, we are praising biological advantage, or more so, we are praising having the money to look like you have biological advantage. We're praising being rich enough to fit the beauty standards of today. And skincare is just one financial barrier to get over, which is pretty low in comparison to plastic surgery. I read this absolutely brilliant article on Dazed Digital titled "Not Ugly, Just Poor: How the Beauty Industry is Widening the Class Divide" by Ellen Atlanta, and I got a majority of the research for this segment of the video from the article, which I will leave linked down below. Honestly, it's amazing. I really recommend giving it a read because I definitely couldn't have worded it better myself. In this video, I talk a lot about biological advantage, right? We aren't embracing natural beauty, we're praising biological advantage. We are just praising people who hit the genetic lottery jackpot. But honestly, we are actually praising the illusion of biological advantage, the semblance of biological advantage, as @Rhea Finn said in their tweet. We are praising people for being wealthy enough to look naturally beautiful, and we are praising people for having enough disposable income where they can chop and change their faces, fit the beauty standards as they come and go, and reap all of the benefits. Ellen mentions in their article that getting beautifying treatments is such a tricky thing because not only does it require privilege, but it also creates privilege. So it ends up creating this really toxic cycle, which is not easily broken. And the thing is that I can't really blame people for not wanting to break this cycle, even though I'm talking about, oh, nose jobs, skincare routines, I spend a lot of money on beautifying treatments. I don't get filler or Botox anymore, but I spend money on makeup. I spend a lot of money on my hair extensions. And also when women stop participating in these beautifying treatments, whether it's out of choice or whether because they couldn't afford to in the first place, their lives get significantly harder. Women are penalized for it. Poorly groomed women earn 40% less than their well-groomed counterparts. Attractive people are 20% more likely to be called back for a job interview and are perceived as more socially skilled, trustworthy, confident, and competent. And these ideas of what well-groomed means not only have roots in classism, but absolutely have roots in racism. I have read multiple stories, I have heard multiple stories about people of color, especially Black people, being told that they are not well groomed, they are not well presentable when they are wearing their natural hair or when they are wearing traditional Black hairstyles like braids, cornrows. And this doesn't just happen in the workplace as well, it happens a lot in education and education settings. Our faces, our appearances have become commodities. You will be treated differently based on how you look. And I especially think with social media, our appearance has become like the forefront of who we are. When you think about an app and a website like LinkedIn, you've got to do your little headshot, you're going to be thinking about the way that you look. And I also especially think with social media as well, our faces have become something that we should invest in. Our appearances are an investment. And this doesn't just apply to the workplace, because the way that men talk to you and treat you when they aren't attracted to you, is actually terrifying. As someone who has been on both sides of it, you want to maintain your attractiveness because you no longer want to be spoken to like you're a piece of shit on the floor, or even worse, when men just don't acknowledge your existence but will say hi to everyone else around you. I'm getting war flashbacks. Stop! And with the wider availability of Botox and filler and injectables, the average like beauty maintenance treatments are no longer getting half a head of highlights or getting a manicure. It's getting a Botox brow lift. It's getting your lips filled. It's getting a nose job. And to quote the Dazed Digital article, the result is a benchmark for beauty only reserved for those with disposable income and a new beauty class system in which there are those who can afford to participate and those who cannot. And what happens when the financial barriers for beauty become so high that they are unachievable to the average person? People will go into debt trying to keep up with beauty standards. Refineries29 spoke to a woman called Shelley, name changed. She's 27 years old and she is in £2,300 worth of credit card debt from getting injectables, and she can only afford to pay back between £50 to £90 a month. Shelley says, getting Botox on my forehead cost me £400 every time, but I can't not have it. I know I'm only 27, but there's no better feeling than my forehead not being able to move, she says. I don't look as youthful and my makeup doesn't go on as well when it wears off. According to a recent survey by the beauty booking software Pamperbook of over 900 salons, women are spending on average over £1,000 a month on beauty treatments. And because there is this pressure to keep up with beauty standards, this really, really high pressure to keep up, a lot of women will choose getting beauty treatments over a more essential service or appointment. And I know this sounds crazy when you think about it, but guys, I spent money on brand new extensions this month and I haven't been to the dentist in nearly 10 years. So that's me. I know I actually shouldn't be laughing. I do really need to go to the dentist. Or instead of going into debt, women, not just women, men as well, a lot of people will travel to clinics abroad to seek cheaper treatments and surgeries. According to the Turkish Statistical Institute, over 640,000 medical tourists visited Turkey for treatments and surgeries, which actually led to the UK issuing a warning because since 2019, 22 British nationals have died after getting plastic surgeries and treatments in Turkey. So I can't find any specific statistics, but I know that there has been an uptick in NHS hospital admissions from people getting surgeries, cheaper surgeries in Turkey. It's actually been 24 people have died from getting surgeries abroad, not just Turkey. I have shared the story of Charisse from Simeon Brown's book, Get Rich or Die Trying, in a previous video. I'm going to insert the clip now for anyone who hasn't watched that video. One of the women that Simeon interviewed, Charisse, wanted a BBL because she thought it would further her Instagram influencing career, but left with nearly fatal results. To read an excerpt from Simeon's book, this is from page 26. The day of Charisse's consultation in Istanbul was the same day she was operated on. This turnaround would be unthinkable in the US or the UK for a planned surgery. Her procedure was also botched. Breast implants were used as bum implants and were subsequently rejected by her body. And that was not all. The surgery lasted 9 hours and her blood levels dropped to dangerously low levels. Afterwards, she bled heavily, but she was discharged after only 4 days. When she returned to the UK, her health deteriorated so rapidly that she was hospitalized, and she was told the actions of the clinic in Istanbul had led to her developing necrosis. Her breast was rotting due to a severe infection from an untreated blood clot. When I made contact with the company to hear their side of the story, the spokesman was haughty and aggressive. They accused Charisse of being desperate for attention. A notable lack of concern shone through their reply, which was strewn with spelling errors. Charisse just wants money, they said, as if I had not seen with my own eyes the pus pouring from her breast. I spoke to another woman in her 40s who corroborated the company's disdain for the women paying them. She herself was diagnosed with broken ribs after a suspected emergency CPR during her surgery in Istanbul. Her NHS doctor concluded that she had most likely died and been resuscitated on the operating table. If so, it was an event that Avru Paymed failed to tell her about afterward. But unfortunately, badly done cosmetic work can actually have the opposite effect of social advancement, which so many people crave. And this creates yet another social barrier within plastic surgery. Badly done work, or work that looks obvious, is often looked down upon by the middle and upper classes. To quote Professor Ruth Holliday for Days Digital, working class bodies are nearly always marked as excessive, as too much, and lip filler would be a classic example. However, working class people might not see it in the same way. Bigger is better when it's the obviousness of it that shows you are a body of value and that you should be included in society. By working on your own body, you're showing your skill, your resources, and your labor, which is more valued in working class culture. And I feel like now is a good time to talk about getting veneers abroad. In the UK, it's really, really popular to fly to Turkey to get a full set of veneers. In the UK, getting a full set of veneers would set you back about 20 grand. But in Turkey, I read an article on, I think it was The Times, where a couple went and they got 2 sets of veneers, a hotel stay, a mini holiday for $4,000 for the 2 of them. And as you guys can probably tell, when something is too good to be true, it's often too good to be true. I've heard a lot of horror stories about people getting veneers, cheap veneers, abroad. Because it's done at such a low cost, the teeth are filed down way more than they need to be, meaning that the teeth are permanently damaged. Basically, they've been completely maimed. And the thing is with veneers is that you need to get them replaced every 10 years or so. So if 10 years rolls around and you can't afford to get them replaced, you are basically fucked. And I have seen horror story after horror story of people getting cheap veneers abroad. I have heard people saying that it has ruined their lives, that they are in constant pain and they can't afford to get the bad work fixed. In the UK, a lot of dentists will refuse to treat them because the damage is so severe. I've literally seen people begging for help on TikTok because their teeth has been so severely damaged, they're in so much pain and they have no other choice. They're completely desperate. And I know that it's really easy to sit here and say and think, oh, well, they're stupid for thinking that they can get a full set of veneers for $3,000 or $4,000. But honestly, I think we need to approach subjects like this with a lot more empathy. It's really, really difficult to get affordable dental work over here in the UK. And not only that, but you will get treated differently based on your teeth. You can be denied employment, being treated badly by other people. Can you blame people for wanting to get their teeth fixed? And also, like, $3,000 to $4,000 sounds suspiciously cheap for veneers, but $3,000 to $4,000 is a lot of money. So you can't really blame people for thinking that investing that much money into their teeth that they would have a good result. You know, I just don't think we can be shocked that people will go to any length to fix their teeth, especially with social media where literally like everyone has a perfect smile. And I do think that social media, sorry, I'm literally finding different positions to sit in. I do think that social media really exacerbates this problem. Like I said, not only do we see people with perfect smiles literally all the time, but also influencers, big and small, will accept free treatments, free veneers in exchange for promotion. So a lot of people aren't being honest with how these treatments whether they would actually recommend it. They're just promoting it because they're getting it for free. Jack Fincham, who was a Love Islander, he was on season 4, he shared his story about getting veneers in Turkey, and he said that he wished that he knew more about it because he did not know what he was getting himself in for. I just think that there's such a lack of education around getting cheaper treatments abroad. And I think there's a reason for it, because I think if there was a lot of education and transparency, a lot of people wouldn't be getting $3,000 veneers abroad. To quote Ellen Atlanta for Dazed, cosmetic procedures have become a type of status symbol for aspirational women. The new designer bag. It's a way for those with privilege to keep and increase their advantage, while those who can't participate are given little choice but to cut corners in order to do so. My final thoughts on this topic are, I think it's tricky because I think so much of this is systemic, that there's like so little that like as individuals we can do. I mean, obviously I think I praise this in literally all of my videos, but like have empathy. Be more empathetic, be a more empathetic person. I definitely think there needs to be more proactivity within industries to stop just jumping on every single like TikTok trend to promote products, but they're obviously going to do that anyway because they're trying to make money. I just think if you want to preach like status skin, do the legwork, feature models who don't have clear skin, models from all different walks of life, people from all different walks of life. I think one brand that actually does this really well is Estrid. They're a razor subscription brand. I think all of their advertising is like pretty spot on. They have a really diverse range of models and they feature so many models with body hair, without body hair, which I think is great. I think a lot of industries should be doing that. I also think TikTok users contributing to the skintok tag, maybe you need to think a little bit before promoting a product to fix strawberry legs, because there can be a teenage girl out there who has strawberry legs, wasn't insecure about it, and now is. And also cut it out with the ageism. Cut it out with the ageism. All right. Being old is not the worst thing you can be. Being an old woman is absolutely not the worst thing you can be. Aging is a blessing. And when it comes to botched work, getting cheaper surgeries abroad and it going wrong. As I said earlier, I think we just as a whole need to have more sympathy and more empathy for people. And if you are someone who is considering getting a ton of different surgeries, abroad or not, just like a ton of surgeries, fillers, injectables, Botox, stuff like that, personal advice coming from me here is I went through a phase of wanting to get a ton of filler, a ton of Botox. I wanted to get a nose job. I wanted to get a boob job. And I have banging tits. So like clearly I was in the trenches. Once one insecurity is fixed, you will just find another one to cling on to. I honestly think practicing body neutrality, which is basically not like completely loving everything about yourself, just being fine with some of the bits about yourself and I guess appreciating them for their function, does make the world of difference. I started practicing body neutrality about my nose like 2 years ago, I think it was. And now I actually really like my nose. I used to hate my nose, guys. It was my biggest insecurity. And now I love it. I'm slaying. I just think it's better to appreciate your body parts for what they do. You don't necessarily need to love every single one. I think that's more productive than injecting and tweaking things until you do love them, because you will just cling on to something else to feel insecure about. But yes, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a little bit of love. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Give it a thumbs up, follow my socials, subscribe if you're new. And I will see you soon for another video. Bye.